I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network, and today's topic is living into your area of genius. And we each have gifts that are given us to give away, and it's when we express those gifts that we find fulfillment and get lit up in life. So that's what we're going to talk about. But before we get started, let's take a minute or two to get present. Let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing all your cells, all your organs, bringing vital life energy to your body and being. And as you exhale any tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. This time, imagine brilliant, bright light, lighting you up from the inside out, illuminating, electrifying, and energizing all your cells, your molecules, your electrons, creating a brilliant beam of light and energy from your heart out into the world. And as you exhale any remaining tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's press our palms together. Vigorously rub your hands together to feel the friction, the temperature, the pressure, the motion, the tickling and tingling when you stop, and allow all those sensations to bring you present right here, right now, into this remarkable physical form that enables us to experience life. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good morning, Rosalind. Welcome. So good to have you here with us this morning. And welcome to everyone else who's joining us. So today, we're talking about living into your genius. And there are callings of our soul that when we pay attention, call us forward into our fullest expression. And the thing is that we may resist these callings, but we may have a lot of social feedback that tells us to ignore these callings. But when we follow them, when we listen, they're typically, and at least what I've witnessed so far, is that life opens up into whole new dimensions and we become more fully ourselves. And it's interesting because I know people who have been able to identify their area of genius, and they are apologists for it rather than embracing it and expressing it. They tend to minimize it or hide it, and that's a very interesting thing. What happens there is people wanting not to be different, people not wanting to be better than other people at whatever that thing is, or that area is. And the thing is, as far as I can tell, the gifts that were given to us so that we can give them away. So in other words, the gifts that were given to us were gifts of our expression in the world, that they're not ours as much as they are ours to give. And those gifts are our contribution, or our potential contribution in the world. And it's only through the expression of those gifts that we fulfill a portion, if not the greater part, of our purpose. That, for instance, if you had a beautiful voice, would you not sing because you might sing better than others? I hope not. I hope you would sing and sing out and use that voice and that gift to brighten the world. So it's a funny thing that we humans do, where we think that humility is not is kind of denying our gifts and our talents. It's, I guess, the danger can be that we identify with those gifts and talents as our own or as who we are. And then I can see where we might get carried away egoically around the specialness of those gifts. However, if we use those gifts to serve and we live in service to those gifts, it's a very, very different dynamic. And one that I think is very valuable to explore, where the passions that drive us are information, it's communication from another dimension of self or being that allows us to express more fully in the world and to fulfill our unique purpose. We each have a unique purpose, and it doesn't have to be something grand in the world either. It can be being a wonderful family member. It can be being in appreciation of nature, like whatever those passions are that lift us. When we allow ourselves to be lifted, we consequently lift others. And this is all a part of the notion of who we are is life expressing itself through the unique vessel that we are. And the more we are able to have that vessel be clear and unimpeded, like a hollow bone, the more we are able to be in the fullest expression of life in its impulse. And so by becoming less of who we believe ourselves to be, in other words, clearing out all those beliefs, those ideas, those limits that we impose upon ourselves, and clearing out those constraints that are often invisible, we become better able to be in service to life as it wants to move through us. And I recognize that this is a very different perspective, but imagine if each of us followed our passion, listened to those voices that call us into expression, how much more fulfilled each of us would be, and how much, I imagine, how much more peaceful and happy the world would be, or we would be in the world. So the invitation is to recognize and nurture the whispers of your soul, to listen more closely, to take on the what could seem like crazy challenges sometimes, like the impossible dream from Don Quixote, right? To dream the impossible dream, and in that song, it's to fight the unbeatable foe, to bear with unbearable sorrow, to go where the brave dare not go, something like that. But in pursuing our vision and our dream, there is a vitality that is unmatched by pretty much anything else in life. It doesn't mean that we get to ignore the requirements of life, but to find a way to dedicate at least a portion of our energy toward the fulfillment and expression of those dreams is I think, one of our highest callings. Um, and oftentimes those dreams are inspired by external circumstances or events. There may be so many people have found their mission through tragedy, a tremendous loss or disease, and then from dealing with those challenges, people have oftentimes found meaning and translated that suffering into wisdom and into a passion and a contribution to others. So there's a lot of exploration to do. There's a lot of opportunity, even in the most profound obstacles that we confront. There is a lot of opportunity that we can unearth at some point. So when there's a tragedy, what we call a tragedy, or a an obstruction, we go through many phases in dealing with those things. So initially we may be in shock, we may be in grief, we may be in resignation. And there's a point at which perhaps we come to another level of awareness, another place of connection that transmutes the challenges of those circumstances into something else. So this is a really remarkable story. There's a person who, I'm gonna not identify this person directly, but who is who had a diagnosis of ALS, which is a terminal disease, degenerative disease, where ultimately your body stops functioning, but your mind still works. And this person was engaged in an active dying process, developing a community around this process, and was bringing themselves to a place of reconciliation with this prognosis and diagnosis and prognosis. And after, I think it was a period of a couple years of being engaged in this dying process, they came to a different place of being where they just said, okay, that's it. I'm not dying anymore. I'm not actively dying. Instead, embracing life in a different way. And through that shift of mind, shifted their experience profoundly. And there is a level of genius on both legs of that journey, where one is embracing the reality of things, the seeming reality of things, to be actively engaged in the dying process, to be present to it. That in itself is radical. And then after being immersed in that for a bit, to come to the other side of that and say, okay, no, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm actually living. I'm actually embracing life. And that's pretty radical, particularly in the context of having developed this support system around dying. And then to have the courage to just, it was courageous to choose to be actively dying, that's kind of radical. And then to choose to be living in the face of all of that is also very radical and wonderful. So just those, it's not that our passions or our direction is static. We can change direction at any time. And the whisperings of our hearts and souls help to have us navigate those directions and those choices. So it comes back to being present. It comes back to listening and to being responsive and able to respond to those callings, to the promptings of our deepest passions and our genius. So I looked up genius before today's conversation. And the reason I looked it up is because over the weekend I was at a retreat and someone read a definition of genius. It was not the one that I was able to find, but read a definition of genius as that essentially that prompting from oneself that is our unique expression, that is part of our essence, part of what makes us the unique expression of life that we are. And I was so moved by that because it's so clear to me that by living into our deepest heart and soul, by bringing that expression into the world, we're serving our purpose. And what an amazing thing it would be if each and every one of us embraced that. I had always had an attraction to art, and it wasn't a career option in my family. And it wasn't something that was actively cultivated for me in my environment. But I went to school for a while and then I dropped out. And although this wasn't a deliberate, conscious strategy, when I decided I wanted to go back to school for art, my family was very supportive because I was going back to school. And so I ended up in a very circuitous way to be able to go back and study art, which was wonderful. It was such a gift. It was such a blessing to be feeling that level of alignment and excitement and vitality and aliveness. And I think we get to look at those things that allow us those kinds of experiences, where the kinds of experiences that bring us alive. It's so powerful. And maybe the purpose of life is to generate more life, more vitality. And pursuing our genius, our passion, our purpose is one of those ways. And I would venture that may be the most powerful way to engender more life, to create more vitality. Not to mention that there's a level in that vitality. What's coming of that is a level of fulfillment, a level of purpose, and a place of resilience emerges from that as well. So I encourage you, I think for years and years, I was in search of my purpose actively and experienced a lot of pain around it because I felt very lost. And what I recognized is that I didn't know to listen. I didn't know that it didn't have to be some kind of grand world-shaking purpose, that if I pursued the things that I enjoyed doing, that I had passion around, that would lead me in the direction that I needed to go. And many of us do not have a direct road in life. Certainly, I've meandered quite a bit, and I know a bunch of other people who have. In fact, I would say I don't know that many people that have had that direct shot into what they wanted to do. But, there are people who, for instance, from the time they were a little kid, wanted to be a fireman, for example, or a fire person. and that's what they did. It's fascinating to see all the different, or the spectrum of expressions that we have in life and in the world. And giving ourselves permission to make it up, to make life what we want it to be, what we desire it to be, to have it be an expression of our desires and our fulfillment on a deep level, on a being level, is a profound gift that we give ourselves and give the world. So ways to discover that is to look at what you keep going back to. Look at what you spend your free time on. Look at the things that you research, for example, when you have free time. Look at the things that you're drawn to. Look at the things that you used to dream about when you were a kid, or the games you used to play. There are clues for us everywhere. And it's really just being able and willing to look at those clues and to pay attention, to get curious about who you are and how you express in the world, not like putting a fixed label about who you are, but noticing nuances of patterns that have arisen in your life, not the challenging emotional patterns that we usually speak about, but more the vital and alive type patterns, and the things that keep pulling you. Those are all wonderful, wonderful clues that will, if you allow them, move you in the direction of your fulfillment. And the denial of those things is shattering. The denial of those things takes a profound toll, and can separate us from ourselves and from the path to our deepest fulfillment. So pay attention, give that to yourself, because it's not just for you. It's how you contribute to the world as well. So that's today's invitation, and that's it for this morning. I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection, and I go live here each weekday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page and YouTube channel. And I invite you to please like and share the Enlightened World Network Facebook page and YouTube channel and my YouTube channel. Hello, Dido. So glad to have you joining us this morning. And until next time, I just want to say how grateful I am for the opportunity to be having these inquiries into human beingness together. And so until next time, so much love to you.